Hi, welcome to the Gando Tech Learning channel. Today we are here to show you how to use Git, another exciting tools which is you must heard about that, and there are lots of things into it which we are going through them, and then at the end we want to have a walkthrough to see how literally you basically use this tool. So I'm gonna go through this agenda today, which is going to talk about what is GitHub, why GitHub, what is a repository, and I'm gonna introduce two different tools which is being used to communicate with the GitHub. And also at the end we are going to have a walkthrough to see how practically we are working with the GitHub. So, uh, what is a GitHub? So this is the sort of formal introduction about the GitHub. GitHub is a open source repository hosting service. It hosts your source code projects in a variety of different programming languages and keeps track of the various changes made to every iteration. So, what does it mean? Actually, Git is like a place which you upload your code, and whenever you want, you can change it, and you can push your changes to that place again, which is like a host. And the good thing is you can keep track of all changes in your repository. So you can have one GitHub account which has got unlimited repositories which is created there per each project. So why GitHub? So the GitHub actually offers you some these basically items per each project. Like you can have source code management, you can have access controlling, you can have bug tracking, you can have feature requests, you can have task management, you can have a continuous integration, and you can have wikis. So all these things, sort of names which you are somehow familiar with them. As basically in terms of, for example, source code management. So obviously you can put your source there, and the main thing is uh, you most of time by chance, by mistake, you remove your code on your local and you never access to that. But by uploading your source code in there, you could have it forever. And it's you can put some access controlling or permission on there, your some rights, which every user which is collaborating to that basically Git account has sort of permissions, and based on those permissions could touch the main source code. Or, for example, in terms of wikis, you can have sort of documentation in terms of your project. What is that project, how to use it, and these sort of things. So as you can see, it gives you a lot of features which we go through them one by one as we go. So what is the repository? So the main concept of having a Git account is repository. So repository is like a folder for basically each project, and these basically repository track all changes made to your files in your project, and it's building a history over the time. So whenever you basically do any changes on your code and you push it up and upload it to the repository, it will keep the track of your changes. So if, for example, and in the future by mistake you do any changes and you push it, still you have got the previous changes, you can reset to the previous changes and survive about any mistakes, especially once you go to the production, once you have clients, once you have a big uh, basically um, you are making money again for with this basically project which you have. So by having on the GitHub as a source control, so you can always access to that, do your changes, keep the history, and whenever you want to go back about the previous changes, you can easily access to them, reset to your those changes, and also keep the tracking. And so it's going to be a small folder, which is the .git in your project folder, and that small folder doing a lot of job. For example, if by mistake you remove it, you will keep the history. You will basically lose the history. So be careful about that. So, in terms of the tools, there are a lot of tools are being used to have access to your Git account and repositories and manage them. So, I'm just showing you two of them, which are really famous and people are using them. One of them is SourceTree, the other one is Git Extensions. So, I just brought a sort of background to show you how they look like. Uh, and so now what I'm gonna do, we are going to have a walkthrough about how we can create the GitHub account, and how we can create a repository and upload our changes to that repository. So bear with me and to show you how it's working. So as you can see, this is the website for the GitHub, and I'm just basically click on the link to create my account. So for this repository, I'm using our channel name, which is the Gando Tech Learning, and so the user it's a simple sign up actually. Just put your username, email address, and then password, and do sort of verification, and then create the account. So as you can see, I'm just going to doing some sort of verification again, and uh, just creating on join a free plan. So now the repository has been created, simple as that. So you would have your own repository. So it's going to just ask you sort of questions like what kind of basically work you do mainly. So we are clicking on software engineer, and then how much programming experience do you have? So just answering this question, whatever basically is based on your situation. What do you plan to use GitHub for? So like hosting a project, and um, just complete the setup, and that's it. Congratulations, you would have now your repository, your what's the name, GitHub account, and it's already logged in. So you would have some basically toolbars in left hand side. So a number of repositories and the code which you already put there, how many commits you have, issues, discussions, packages, and all these things which is accessible for you. Now, now the next thing is we are going to sort of going through the next step, which is creating repository and then uploading our project to the GitHub to have a real basically repository with all our codes. So bear with me for this step as well. So now I'm going to create my repository, and to create a repository for your account, you just need to click here and click on a new repository. So for the first time, it will ask you to basically send a verification for you. So you should have sort of email in your basically email address which you introduced to your GitHub account. If you already clicked and verified that, so straight away you will go to the site. Otherwise, you have to go to your email address and click to get it verified. So if I click on my new repository again, I just verified my email address, and now straight away after clicking on new repository, it show me uh, the new page which is going to introduce that my repositories as required. So as you can see, this is my account, and for my repository I'm going to uh, create like Gando uh, Gando tech like repo 1. So as you can see, it will check and verify this repository to make sure it's not created or it doesn't exist. And then you can put optionally description about your repository, like this is a sample. And then you have option to put your repository as a public repository or private repository. So if it's private, then you have to mention, for example, only these users would be able to access this repository. Otherwise, if you put it public, anyone can access to that repository. And but you can choose, for example, who everyone access to this repository, who would be able to put the commit in there and put the changes and then commit the changes. So it's very important how you're going to treat your repository. And then initialize this repository with like a readme file, add git ignore, and choose a license and whatever basically is required. Normally it's better to choose these two to make sure. So for example, whenever you create this repository, it should have one, like a readme, so you can put documentation about this specific repository, what kind of project it is. If for example you can, if you wanna give them the um, clue, for example, how this project could be ran or whatever, basically in terms of that project, you can just choose it here. In terms of the Git Ignore, uh, it's like having, for example, some sort of things which is giving the clue what should be ignored once you push your changes or commit your changes into the repository. And so I'm gonna basically get into it shortly. Just bear with me. So yeah, as we discussed, now, if we select the Git Ignore, so there are lots of templates are there, which we are basically, uh, for our example, as we are using the Visual Studio projects. So I'm gonna select the Visual Studio for this one, and then I'm just hit the create repository to create the repository for me. Voila. So as you can see, my repository is created, and as you can see, it has got the readme and git ignore, as you can see. So the readme has got by default my repository name and my description, but you can just edit it here, or even pull it on your local and do whatever you want and just push it back. In terms of the Git Ignore as well, the main purpose of using the Git Ignore is to excluding some files which are not required to be pushed to the Git, like your bin folder, DLLs, which are in the bin folders, or some sort of other Visual Studio specific files which are not required to be on Git to just they are just sort of just loading unnecessary things into the Git. So it helps you to just exclude these things, but it could be easily updated. So you can add anything accordingly whenever you want it. Like for example, see these build results, like any debug folder, release folder, all these things could be basically generated by the Visual Studio, which you are not required to basically have them there. And so in this case, it just exclude these files to tidy up your project files, to have only the necessary things in your GitHub. So because to be honest, if you don't put this Git Ignore every time you wanna push everything or commit everything in the Git, you will see, wow, there are tons of files has been changed, and you have to push them. It looks really scary, and you basically, and it's going to be messy in your list, and sometimes you might miss your main files which need to be pushed to the Git. So that's why be careful about this Git Ignore, and definitely use it to make sure always you are having the necessary files which is required to be pushed to the Git. Cool. So there are some basically menus in there, which basically the major things which normally people are using are the code, which is show you the list of the files and folders which your project literally has, like a data structure or folder structuring of the project. So in here you would have a basically a branch lists, because so this is the whole basically concept of using the Git. So GitHub has got one main branch, which is normally they call it main or master. So it depends, but these two names are the main things. So always, if you want to take any deployment or build, it would be the main branch or master branch. It's totally identical. So, and one thing is very important is always the main branch or master branch must be ready for any deployment. So be careful if you wanna do anything in terms of the changes. Always the whole, basically, the whole steps would be like firstly creating a branch from out of the main or master, do your changes, and then basically push all the changes to that branch, and then whenever that branch is done in terms of your changes and you are sure it's fine and everything is good, then you have to create a pull request. This is the basically definition of done about your basically coding lifecycle. So whenever the code is ready, so it must be code reviewed by, for example, another team member or someone else, and then you have to create a pull request, add those basically user to your pull request, and then whenever they are going to review that pull request, see the changes, and whenever they approve it, it could be merged back to the master. So whenever it merged back to the master, then it's going to be end of the life for that branch, so you can remove that branch from to basically keep the space tidy. So it's not, it's just bear in your mind, always try to have only one branch, which all the deployments are going out of this branch. Uh, so as you can see in here, you would be able to see your branch, as you can see. So at the moment we have one branch here, which is the main, and but if for example have more branches, then it will be listed here with different names, and anyone can access to this basically um, to this repository, so they can have changes, they can push them up. So that's why if you want to see only your branches out of this basically master, you can just go there. in here, it only display your branches, because in overview it will display any branches have been taken out of the master. So for example, if you are a team of 5 and these 5 are working on this repository and they push their changes, they are creating different branches, so you would see a list of branches which is belong to all these team. So then, if to see your own branches, you just click here and basically see them. If you wanna basically see your the active branches, because some of those branches could be deprecated or deleted, or I don't know, parked, whatever. So you can just see the branches which are active and available. So the other thing you might normally frequently you use it is the pull request. So you in pull request you can create a pull request out of your branch and say, okay, I'm gonna create a pull request for this branch, and this branch is supposed to be merged back to, for example, master or any other branches which is required to go. And one of the major other major things are is setting. So in settings, if you have access to that, because it's at the moment your user, which is my user here, is owner. So owner has access to everything. But in, for example, in here, you can create more users for this specific, basically uh, repository, to basically to give them access to go and manipulate the repository, but based on the rights which you give them. So as you can see in the setting, I can change the repository name, and actually I can do different things like images for this repository, any, for example, features you're gonna give that repository, and in terms of merging plan, so you can give them, for example, allow merge commits. So basically it gives you for it allow you to basically merge back the things to the main branch. Or for example, if you wanna, like, I'm just going to give you the heads up about what sort of things generally you can do, like for example this one, which is deleting this repository. So if you want to delete this repository, you just go there, put your uh, repository name, and just boom, just shut it down and close it forever. And you can give the access to the users who are basically accessible, would be able to use this repository, sort of branches, branch management, and notifications, integrations, uh, actions, anything basically is basically is being used in your specific repository. So this is the basic thing about GitHub, your account, how to create it, and how to create the repository, which is the fundamental things for your projects. So the next step I'm gonna take would be how to upload, how to let's firstly go to the tools and basically see the tools, how to download them, and then from that basically a step, we are going to upload and push our project for the first time to the repository. So bear with me to basically to show you how to do that. Right. So before I start, I'm just gonna basically ask you, please do subscribe to this channel. We really need your support, and we are basically going to provide lots of videos in terms of different technologies, different things. So definitely, by subscribing to our channel, you will get notifications whenever we upload any new videos or any changes into the channel. So you will get notified and you can come and have a look to see what's basically new in this channel. And we really need your support, definitely. Thank you very much. So as you can see, I just opened the website which you can download these two tools as I mentioned earlier in terms of the name. One of them is SourceTree, so you can go and download it from for the Windows or Mac OS, whatever basically operating system are you using. So based on them, you can download it. Or for example, for the Git extension, you can come here and just hit the download button and just download the MSI file and install it uh, mm, on your operating system, whatever it is. So these are the places which you can download your tools to be able to access to the GitHub. So I've downloaded both of them, and as you can see, this is the SourceTree application to do the basically communication with the GitHub, and this one is the Git extension. So as you can see, there are a bunch of things you can see here. For example, you have got the workspace. This workspace would be your local. So whatever branch are you creating out of the master will be displayed here. So whoever is highlighted here would be your branch which is active on your local. And if you want to see all the remote branches, you easily would be able to see the main branch and all the branches which has been pushed already to the Git and they are remote. So you can see the list here. To for any basically project you wanna basically you wanna pull it from Git, you need to clone that project or that repository to your local, and then it would be a connection between your local repository and the Git repository. And whenever basically you are interested, you can pull the most recent changes to your local or push your changes to the remote branch, whatever it is, easily. As you can see, so all most of the things you can see here, for example, in terms of the cloning repository, all the things are pretty much the same as what you have in the Git extension. So creating new repository, opening the repository, clone the repository, and whatever is basically being used for each repository. So I'm going to use the Git extension to basically clone my main repository, which is already here. And the other thing which is very important for you to know is, so sometimes you're asking, okay, how could I communicate via those tools with my GitHub repository? So just to know, there is a drop down here which is uh, giving you the repository URL, because it must be something for you to add to your Git tool to be able to clone your or make a connection to your GitHub repository. So that's the thing. And based on this URL, you can easily communicate with your repository. So the thing is, each repository has got its own URL. So in here, you just need to copy this URL and use it in your tool. Or if you don't have any tool and you want to just download this code and bring it on your local and just work with it, you can download the zip file of this file. So as we are going to connect to this uh, thing, I'm going to use the colon repository, and as you can see, my repository name is already there. And also, uh, you have to basically put your directory. So how I'm going to call it on my local. That's very important. And also, I have to put the destination path to see how where I'm going to place my working space, working directory, and put my project repository in there. So bear with me, I will show you how to do that. So as you can see, I've created my own working space, and I'm gonna put my repository here. So I'm naming this repository. Just let me go there to that specific folder to show you how to create that folder in here. So I'm gonna put the subfolder here, and then I'm gonna call it like uh, this name. I'm just run the clone. So it's trying to prepare my local repository and bring the required things and add the required things here. And at the end, as you can see, bingo, my Git extension now successfully connected to the my Git account and Git repository. So as you can see, I've got the branches, which is my local, and then the next section is my remote repository, which is mentioned as the origin. And as you can see, my main remote repository is displaying as a main. So just be careful, don't be confused. This main under the origin and remote is my main branch in uh, here. So this is the main branch. This is my remote main branch. And this main is my local at the moment. So if you go back to uh, this part here, as you can see, my folder has been created. I've got my Git Ignore and I've got my README. Right. So the first section of Git course actually has been finished. Thank you very much for watching this video. Bear with us and subscribe to this channel as the second part of the Git, which is creating your own project uh, and actually um, add it to your local repository, then commit and push your changes to the remote branch, and then creating pull request, merging, approval, and then all these things are basically on their way, and they will be basically provided in the next video. So bear with us and subscribe to this channel. Thank you very much.